Daniel Steele, Family Ties. Chapter 3. Annie was up before dawn the next morning, moving silently around the kitchen. As she made the stuffing, put it in the turkey, and then slid the huge bird into the oven. She checked the dining room, and the table she and the Katie had set the night before looked lovely. She was back in bed by 7 and decided to get a little more sleep before they all got up. She knew that Ted and Katie would sleep late. Annie managed to get 2 more hours sleep before her friend Whitney called and woke her at 9. Did I wake up? You are lucky. The boys have been driving me crazy for the past 2 hours. They have already had 2 breakfasts. The one I made them and the one they made themselves. Annie smiled when she heard her and stretched in her bed. She even slept better when the kids were home. She could no longer imagine what her life would have been like without them. Whitney always said that without her two nieces and nephew, Annie probably would have been married and had kids of her own. Annie wasn't as sure. She might have just concentrated on her career. Since Seth, no Prince Charming had ever come along, at least not so far. Just a few men she had gotten briefly involved with but never fallen in love with. And within a short time, the relationship had fallen apart. She had too much else to do to devote herself to a man, and their existence in her life always interfered with her main commitment to her sister's children. There had been no room for them and a man too. Are all three of them home? Whitney asked her. No, just Ted and Katie. Liz is staying with her boyfriend. Is this one serious? She would have loved to have a daughter and envied Annie. The two girls, all her boys wanted to do was play sports. She missed having a daughter to fuss over, but hadn't dared try again for fear of having a fourth son, and always said that much testosterone under one roof would have done her in. 3 sons and a husband were enough for her. He looks like all the others, Annie said, referring to Jean Louis. He commutes between New York and Paris, and Liz works so hard. She doesn't see him much. She is focused on her career. Guess who she takes after? Whitney teased her. You have set a lousy example to these kids. It's about time you gave them a healthy role model and found a guy. I keep writing my name and phone number in public bathrooms, but no one calls. That's pathetic. Fred has a friend I want you to meet. He has a really he is a really nice guy, a surgeon. Don't you come on New York? Why don't you come on New Year's Eve? You will be there. That's not a night for blind dates. Besides, I don't want to leave the kids. It had been her battle cry for years. Are you kidding? They will probably all be out with friends. They don't want to spend New Year's Eve with you. At least I hope not. I don't know their plans, Annie said vaguely. She didn't want to meet a stranger on New Year's Eve. It'd be too depressing. Annie had had too many blind dates over the years, and none of them had panned out. Friends had been fixing her up with losers for years. Well, keep it in mind, because They are going to ditch you for their friends. I promise. I would be surprised if they didn't. You can spend the night with us. Whitney and Fred gave a New Year's Eve party even every year, but it was never fun for Annie. Everyone was married except for the creeps they set her up with. And as much as she loved Whitney and had for years, being the wife of a doctor in New Jersey didn't make for an interesting social life. Annie always would up Annie always wound up feeling like the odd man out at Whitney's parties or a freak for being single at 42. People just didn't understand how busy she had been for all those years. And now that the kids were grown up, she was busy with her business. She had no time to go out looking for a man and no longer really cared. You have done what you promised your sister. Now give yourself a break. Come to New Year's Eve. I will let you know, Annie said vaguely. She had the unpleasant feeling that Whitney was going to insist. She usually did. So who is coming to Thanksgiving? She said, trying to change the subject and distract Whitney from her own non-existent personal life. The usual suspects, Fred's sister and her husband and kids and his parents. Her twins destroy my house. You are lucky. Yours are civilized and grown up. Believe me, I miss the stage you are at with yours, Annie said nostalgically, with a wistful tone in her voice. You just don't remember what it was like. God save me from teenage boys. Whitney sounded rueful, and they laughed. I will come in for lunch next week, and I want you to think about New Year's Eve. He is a great guy.